Good evening. It is Corey Myers with the Level Up Business Mastery. We've got to change some logos still, but we've got Javier with us tonight. He's a strategic growth coach. We're going to talk operations. We're going to talk your processes and what is going to get you growing on the Biz Basics show tonight. So, Javier, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, Corey, how you doing, man? First of all, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk about growth, productivity, process, all that. As you said, I'm a strategic growth coach, and what that means is I help growth-minded leaders and small business owners master their productivity. And what that means to me is I teach you how to better leverage and maximize your time management strategies, your goal-setting strategies, and your habit formation strategies. So time, goals, and habits. I believe that's where it's at. I believe that's where real explosive growth happens. And I think we all can do more to improve each one of those areas.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you, when I spoke about you to my partner, Robert, I was really like, hey, this guy, you're going to love it because one, you get to take a break tomorrow night. And two, I think Javier's got some absolute excellent insight into the habits and what are you doing in your daily life. I think not just the business habits that we call processes, but your habits and your behaviors that are going to really push this up. We've got Bears Real Estate saying awesome with a clapping hand. So thank you guys. Guys, tell us where you're from. Let us know that you're watching and where from, as well as ask any questions to Javier tonight. We're going to see Javier hopefully a couple more times in the future, but it's going to be sparing. So get your questions out tonight because we've got lots of other content as well to make sure that you guys learn about your business and grow your business. So Javier, let's talk about the first thing. Is your habits. What are some of the things that you see that you can correct? Like, what are some problem areas in people's habits?
Yeah, man, that's a great question. So, I tried to devise my coaching system and methodology based around actual needs, right, of leaders and small business owners. And the one big thing that I consistently saw, and it sounds like you've seen this as well, is just this place of overwhelm. I would hear the same story. I move throughout my day, but I don't feel like I ever got anything done. And from that place, a lack of clarity there also led to a lack of clarity for direction. I don't know really, where am I going with this? What are we doing? We're just surviving day after day. And it really kept leaders from looking futuristically, from understanding how today really is for tomorrow, essentially, right? And what you do today is impacting your future. And so overwhelm was a big one. And I think along with that, time management, goal setting systems, and habits all fit really perfectly into maximizing that, improving that, and really just creating a better system for growth and productivity.
Absolutely. So for the listeners and the viewers tonight, when people have the sense of overwhelm and they're not able to look forward towards the next day or even the next year or any of that, what is something that everybody could probably implement tomorrow to improve something?
Well, I love that question, man, because it makes it possible, right? That's another issue I've seen is people, it doesn't seem possible to change their situation, right? They get stuck in this routine, in this loop, and they know somewhere in the back of their minds, yeah, I can do better, but I don't got time for that. And more, it looks more and more impossible. So I appreciate that question very much. One of the most powerful things that I would say you can do today, starting tomorrow, really, in reference to your question, would be start your day right. Right. So many times we forget that what we do in the early part of our day really sets the tone for the rest of the day. And I genuinely believe that wherever you're successful or wherever you're growing, that is a byproduct of your starting point. And so for some people, that looks like a variety of routines, right? Some people, it means reading certain kinds of material at the beginning. Maybe it means writing out your list. It's not perfect. Again, that's one of the things I stress with my clients is we're not trying to be perfect here. We're on a process of growth, right? And I know you're all about processes and the power of that. And so we're on this trajectory for growth. Some days are going to be off, some days are going to be on, but it's about the overall trajectory, right? And so starting your day purposefully, starting your day intentionally, starting your day on the right foot, on the right note, that's a powerful move, man. That's a powerful, possible, and impactful move that all of us can really make.
That's awesome. I can't remember if it was McChrystal or one of the generals that, they did a TED talk or something. They're talking about making your bed. And the thing is, that's such a small win, right?
Yeah.
Make your bed. And and nowadays, I think the small win for us that work at home is take a shower.
Right.
But take a shower, eat breakfast,
Yes.
Meditate in your own way, or read, or do something powerful. I used to watch TED Talks every morning. I got kind of bored of that, so I've switched it up into different types of learning. But I think getting that small win is important every morning. Getting something to say yes to you, something that works. I have done and accomplished something. What do you think about that?
That's good, man. That's a really powerful thing, and what I like about what you're saying is you want whatever you do to be simple, right? That's part of overwhelm is we try to do everything at once. We want to lose weight or we want to get wealthy or whatever it is. We want to just crash it all, right? We want to be level 10 starting from the get-go. And that's just not practical. And so I'm a huge fan of whatever it looks like to start your day right, make it simple, profound, and relevant. Right? You want it to be simple. You want it to be like, maybe it's just watching a video. Maybe it's just, again, making a 5-point list. You want it to be profound. You want it to be able to have an impact, to actually have real value for your day, right? I can spend 30 minutes doing something that really has no value for my day. So I started my day, but I didn't start it right. And then I want it to be relevant, right? It has to fit into the puzzle that I'm trying to build little by little. So simple, profound, relevant. I think that's hugely powerful, especially when it comes to kind of what you're referring to.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that a lot of people, it overwhelms them because I've got so many things to do and it's not organized. And the process is just, it's on a list, maybe it's on a sticky note on somebody's windshield, maybe. And maybe it gets completely derailed when there's a fire that the owner needs to start, or fight rather than start.
Yeah.
Let's hope we're not starting fires in our own business.
Right.
But some of that can be standardized. Some of that can be, hey, I know where this is. It's in a box. It's in this list. This is how we've got going. I know a business owner that I was working with. They had a commercial and a residential side to the roofing company, and all of their residential roofing deals were done on these little notepads, and they had kind of, here, let me rip you off your copy, and then this is our copy. And he would pin that to a cork board. Well, that was a great spot for it until the building actually caught fire. They had rigged I believe it was a refrigerator in the break room, went through an extension cord, and it was all boiled up. And so burnt half of the building down, including all of those work orders. And so having a good spot is number one. I liked the fact that he had them all in one spot. What I didn't like that he wasn't scanning them before sticking them up on the board. So he lost a bunch of that, but he was able to recover a lot based on some other things. I think some of the salespeople had copies and things like that, but that's an actual fire that you've got to fight. And so business owners get distracted by some of that. So the more that you can eliminate distractions and keep your taskings simple, then I think the more that you're able to check those things off, and the more you're able to standardize your overall business processes, then it'll trickle up to standardizing your morning and your day.
Absolutely, man. It's a system, right? It's a system, and in a system, whether it's dynamic, whether it's linear, however it works, one thing affects the other. And so it's a matter of, as you shift one thing, everything else matters. And look, you and I both know this, right? We're working with some of the busiest people on the planet, small business owners, medium, big. I mean, these people are go, go, go. You are in the game of adaptation. You have to know how to shift and change. So I get it. I get it. There are fires to put out, like fires in the right way, right? To put out. And there are things that need to be done. And so, but if we can just remember the principles, right? I love Ray Dalio's book, Principles, because it really speaks to this idea. If you just understand kind of the theme of what you're working with, what matters, and what's important, then it'll help you whenever some of these things just pop up out of nowhere. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, like let's scrap everything we were doing, start from the ground up on this. So yeah, I completely agree.
Sometimes that's the way to do it. But and that's kind of, I'll tell you right now, and we discussed this, that's what we're doing with Level Up, is we want to make sure that this group, this brand, can provide free value to business owners that otherwise may not be able to afford us, or hey, I just want a little bit of Facebook learning every once in a while. Hey, maybe you're starting your day by watching these videos. That would be wonderful. I'd love to hear if you are, but and maybe that's to come later when we get some more videos actually produced. So, having that online learning atmosphere for free is really what this Level Up was founded upon. And then, we are adapting to have some additional services. But, overall, we want to push out content and make sure that everybody's getting it and everybody's got access to it. And this kind of conversation. So we've got a place that we can go. And so we've kind of, other than the branding, we've started from scratch and we said, how do we make this work? And so making sure that those things work in our processes and our operations, our business model had to change to get the executable, which is helping small business owners and mid-sized enterprises to get relevant information to grow their businesses. So yeah, absolutely, starting from the ground up is important. Sometimes burning the boats, as we call it, and going all in on something is really important as well. We are here, we've burnt our boats, we're either gonna get this done or die trying. But I think one of the things about the operations space is if you get your headspace into a good spot, then your operations will follow. What do you think about overall business operations for executives, and how does that differ from your personal habits and your time management and making sure that you don't get overwhelmed?
Yeah, that's great. First of all, and in speaking to what you're talking about as far as the vision that y'all have, man, I think that speaks to a powerful principle of bringing value first before expecting any. And that's huge, because same as with you, there are some clients that can't afford my services, and that's okay. But to say that because you can't afford it, you can't grow, that just isn't a connection that I'm willing to make, right? And so to create that space, that structure, that's awesome. So more power to you, man. I'm glad to be a part of that. As far as kind of this macro, micro, if I'm understanding your question correctly, level, business operations, CEO level, and personal. So I genuinely believe that whatever happens on the macro has to first happen on the micro, right? And what that means is you can't run an organization if you can't run yourself, right? You can't get things organized for your employees if you don't even know how to organize things, right? And there's variation to that. But overall, it's important to understand how these principles work on the micro, I think, first, before you actually make these big impacts and big moves. And so I look at, and this is, of course, this is your field, so I'm not an expert here, but the way I look at it is, look, like whatever's happening on the big scale, that's kind of a byproduct of the right moves, the right strategies, the right systems that were incorporated on the micro scale, right? And that starts with a personal decision to be able to do these things and do them well and do them consistently. And so it's two different things, so to speak, but it's really a part of one big organism, right? And so these systems, these structures are made up of people. What are those people deciding to do? What kind of mindset do they have? What kind of thinking do they have? And I think it was John Maxwell who said everything rises and falls on leadership, right? And so it's not linear black and white,
Absolutely.
but overall I would say it's very true, right? Where
Well, I
whatever
think setting an example is extremely important on the leadership side, and one of those examples that you need to set is organization and
Mm,
how you see, um, if I can stay organized and if I can do this, then everyone in my company can follow the same methodology, and hopefully that leadership is shown in a way that is received well by, your very highly engaged employees.
mhm,
But that's not always the case.
right.
You've got the Pareto principle, which
Mm,
says 80% of your workers are going to do 20% of the work, and 20%, your
right.
top 20 are going to get 80% of the work done. So, and that's just, it's just a law of nature at this point. It's kind of odd to think of it that way, but even HR, SHRM, they have some training that's basically like, if they're going to be 80, if they're going to be that bottom 80%, then we're not even going to try to engage them. And that's training straight from Sherm. And really it's kind of methodology. You can kind of, I say, take it with a grain of salt. But if they're not engaged, how do you get them engaged, and how do you get them to use the same time management as the executives and the leadership?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. And what I like about what you're saying too is context matters. Is how I look at that, right? That context matters. Principles applied contextually may look different, but it's the same principle. And so that keeps the team unified, but it also gives you flexibility to apply accordingly, right? Maybe a middle level manager is going to have different challenges than the CEO, but the principle still applies. And so to be able to differentiate, to say we're in a different context, but this can still work, right? These micro level principles, this can still work and still happen. How do we do that? So that's
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a really big advocate of standardization and putting things into a pathway or a train track, something where we're going to stay within the lane on the bowling alley, but each person can throw their bowling ball down the lane in a different way and still get a strike.
mm,
So you've got some boundaries, but you want to keep it loose enough
yeah.
that somebody has the ability, and this is a Daniel Pink principle,
Mm.
to control their time, task, and team. I think there's a fourth T, but it's the end of the day.
You're good.
But yeah, so having control over and autonomy over their process is
Yes.
important, but I think having some boundaries is also important.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. That's real good. I love that. I love that.
I've got to look up four T's of autonomy. But okay, time, task, technique, and team.
Ah,
I
there you
think I missed technique, but yeah, that's that. How do you throw the ball?
go.
Your team, your bowling team. I'm not really a big bowler. I don't know why I'm going bowling, but
It works. I get it.
I think it really works. I think that's a good analogy. I might have to
Yep.
just continue on with this analogy. And which size of a ball do you pick up? Well, guess what? Your team member might have a different weighted ball,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I say size, but weight. And then the task. Which bowling alley? I don't know. Um, we'll figure it out. How do we connect these lines? But
Right.
but the overall gist is that you can't control exactly what they're doing,
Mm.
because then they're not going to have that autonomy. They're not going to be engaged, and you're not going to have a successful story for your business.
Mm. Well,
Um,
yeah, and this is where futuristic thinking comes in hugely powerful, right? Because part of why someone commits to a company or commits to a team is because of that vision, because that vision connects with their heart, connects with who they are, who they want to be. And so understanding we do all this with a purpose, we do all this, and this is why it matters. that kind of futuristic thinking, understanding trajectories and where this is leading, really brings a lot of weight, a lot of value to the current operations, systems, processes that are being utilized, I think. And so that's usually powerful, thinking about the future, thinking about, we do this today because tomorrow this is what it's going to create, and that matters to who we are and what we do and everything. So
let's stick on habits for another question. I've got something that I think is important, but I want to see what your take is on it. That when part of your habits is also following up on things, and I would say, I guess my question is, how would you say on the habits side, on the personal habits side, would you say that someone should maybe revisit or wrap things up with whatever they've done for the day or the week? Is there some type of journaling that you recommend, or is there some type of kind of just after, what we call in the military, an after action review?
No, there you go. Yeah, no, I think so. Just as starting your day is really powerful, maybe equally so, if not more so, ending your day is very, very powerful as well. And I'm a huge fan of really understanding what the main things are for that day that you started off with, right? And over time, right, because data is so powerful in this way, over time you begin to see trends, right? So how you started your day, what was the theme for the day, what was the purpose, and at the end of it, a part of that is really looking at, did we get there? Why didn't we get there? If we didn't, what were the challenges? What were the advantages we had? How do we need to improve this for the future? And so that can happen in a variety of ways. And a large part of my coaching, I try to dynamically adapt to my client, right? And so not everyone does list. That's okay. Some people do voice memos. Some people, utilize art to help them kind of keep on track. It just depends on how you're wired. And so however that works for you, that's fine. But the important thing is, did we do today what we set out to do? And if not, what's the gap? Is that an acceptable gap? Is that an unacceptable gap? And over time, how is this going to lead towards where we're going? And so I think that can be very powerful, but I don't think it has as much weight or value if you're not starting your day right. So one kind of feeds into the other, right? And then there are some productivity experts who would say, make your list for tomorrow the night before. And so that works for some people, maybe that's a time where you sort of wrap up, but also plan for the next day, for the next moment where you're going to be at it again.
Awesome. I love that. I think, it's important for me to wrap up my day and my week and say, hey, where was I supposed to be going and where did I end up? And how do I correct the course for next week? And even especially in business, looking at the metrics and standardizing your operations to be able to track things. You've heard it a million times before, but you can't manage what you're not tracking. So, those metrics are important. Setting yourself up for success by looking at those things. It may not be that you got 8 tasks done today. It may be that you focused on your top 3 tasks. Those are done. And you now realize, and this is a learning experience. I was talking to a business owner that I mentor, and she mentors me, by the way. But we have this exchange. We like to talk to each other. And I think one of the things that we kind of landed on with her is like, you need to, she said, so I work Monday through Saturday and I usually do about 10 hours a day. And I said, okay, we're going to do something next month. And I think it was April this year. So next month, I want you to work 4 days a week and that's it. Monday through Thursday, Tuesday through Friday, whatever you want to do, 4 days a week. Put a gap in the middle, 4 days a week. Don't work Wednesdays or whatever, but work 4 days a week. And I want you to do that for the entire month. And the reason I wanted her to do that for the entire month is to strip away all of that extra time that she's spending dilly-dallying. She's probably not. She's probably working really hard, right? But you're gonna put yourself under pressure because you have to get it done in these 4 days. And I said the way to get this done too is to schedule things on your Friday. Hey, friends, we're going to lunch on Friday. I'm taking the day off. I want you and you and you to go to lunch with me. I'm paying for it. Uh, it's in the middle of the day,
Mhm.
but or whatever needs to happen. But schedule something other than work so that you cannot go to work. Go to Schlitterbahn, go to a theme park or whatever you got to do. Go visit Lubbock, Texas's amazing college bar scene. I don't care what you do. Go
No
do
comment.
something.
Right.
No comment. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for everybody's awareness, we're both from Lubbock.
Mhm.
Javier is still in Lubbock, Texas Tech University.
That's right. There you go.
And I'm not wearing my class ring here. Where is it? But you know, I think the important thing is to compress that time,
Yeah.
figure out what is really sticking in your process day to day,
Yeah.
and what is getting left on the shelf or the back burner.
Yeah, that's good.
And what you do by doing that, what you see is you see a trend. My brain doesn't really like doing that. It'll do it if it has to get done, but it doesn't really like my brain just doesn't like doing that. So it doesn't get done if I don't have enough time. It slips through the cracks, and maybe that's a glass ball that if you drop, then it breaks. So you can't drop it.
Right.
So at that point, you realize, hey, this glass ball that I constantly drop needs to get handled by someone else, and now you've started to delegate those tasks.
Mm.
So for her, she was like, "This is brilliant."
Yeah.
I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she was quite enthralled with this idea,
Yeah.
and I think it went well for her. She did I think she only did 3 weeks. I
Mhm.
need to chat with her in depth on this, but basically, you know, she figured out a lot of things
Mm.
on her habits and what she needed to be doing, what she was passionate about, and what she needed to delegate or automate. And I think pushing that back out to your 5 day, 6 day work week, now you've got some expansion to not work on the project itself, but work on getting that project into someone else's hands because
Yeah.
it's an ongoing operation.
Oh yeah, that's great, man. And I love I believe it was Peter Drucker quote, right? Whatever gets measured gets managed.
Yeah.
That one, yeah. And the thing that, because just like you, when I'm working with clients, it's about figuring out what works, and then if it doesn't work, kind of readjusting and reapplying sort of this lean management approach, right? And um, the one thing that I think of hearing your story is it's so important to create proper structures of accountability and enforcement. Because here's the thing, this is why a coach is so powerful for clients, right? If you don't have anyone being on you saying, hey, how's that working? And if you don't do this, this is the consequence, so to speak, right? Then there's a very small chance that you're ever going to get anything done. So that really speaks to the power of understanding, if I'm going to do this, what's the cost if I don't do it? What do I stand to lose if I don't do that, right? And I love your suggestion of, if you plan something on that day, that helps hold you accountable. That helps really enforce it, because it's like, well, why didn't he show up? Well, he's working. Let's go. It creates more complication there, right?
Well, and I like scheduling my breaks and scheduling my time off as well. It helps me not to feel so guilty because it's on my schedule. I scheduled for this. I can go into the living room because I work from home. I can go into the living room and take a little bit of a break, eat some lunch, and watch a TV show. And I'm going to watch an entire hour of TV show because I scheduled to do so.
Mhm.
And so it's not, you got to get out of your mind and you got to get out of your headspace sometimes. And you can do whatever activity you would like, but schedule that, put that into your schedule, block it off. You're busy during that time because you're busy relaxing, meditating, doing this other thing. Maybe let's schedule some time off of, especially for solopreneurs. And I know, did we talk about this the other day about having your schedule in two?
Yeah, I think we did touch on it a little bit. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm a really big fan of solopreneurs taking your time and saying, hey, I've got 40 hours in the work week or 50 or whatever you want, but I've got this many hours in the work week. I'm only going to devote half of this to clients. That means if I want to make $10,000 a month, which is a very noble goal, right? I want to make $10,000 a month. It can only happen in 20 hours of your work week.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so Now you've only got 80 hours to work for clients. So that means your prices go up to make that happen. And so your hourly price to do that. Now, one of the great reasons about doing that is your prices go up. That's great. Fantastic. The second reason is now because those prices went up, you are now allowed to go seek additional clients. You're now allowed, you've got that additional time to work on the business, not just in the business. And you're able to now put some money aside for those months that you didn't get clients, because now you've paid for those additional hours. So you want to raise those prices to cover maybe even double that or whatever. So if you went down to 1/3 of your hours that are just working for clients, now you've paid for a second business model, or you've paid for some additional time working in your or on your business. And so maximizing that and saying, you can't go unreasonable. You can't be like, hey, I want to work 1 hour this week and it needs to pay $1 million.
Right.
But if that's what you do for a living, if you help people solve $1 million problems, then maybe that's the case. Maybe I only need to work for the client for 2 weeks and it should cover me for another 4 months, or whatever the case may be. But cover that, especially if you work on projects for clients, cover that by working only half of your hours and allocating that other half to working on the business. I'm a big fan of that. You can split it into days. You can split it into your weekly hours. That's you good. Can even say, as long as my month turns out about half, that 80 and 80, then we're good, right?
Yeah, I love that.
But yeah, do it your way, figure it out. And I think just operating under those personal guidelines is really awesome. What kind of tips or tricks would you have for someone that's looking to, have better time management in their business? Maybe a solopreneur, maybe somebody with employees and a team around them.
Yeah, well, of course, I love questions. I love the power of questions. And what I found is oftentimes the issue is not so much that you're getting solutions that don't work, it's that you're not asking yourself the right question. And so my question to anyone is always, what does it look like to 10x your effort? What does it look like to maximize every movement you make? And one of the most powerful ways you can do that is to ask yourself, what do I need to stop doing before I decide what I need to start doing? So just adding that one simple question, what do I need to not do today? What do I need to stop doing today? Is huge. It's hugely powerful. And it's, as you and I both know, and as any business owner knows, it's not about what's in front of you. It's about how you think about what's in front of you. So that's a huge part of what all of us do to some degree.
I love that. What do I need to stop doing? And yeah, absolutely. If you need some tools to learn how to figure that out, that's your 4-day work week right there. That's your 4-hour work week,
right?
Like Tim Ferriss wants you to have. But and I love that book so much, but I have to take that with a grain of salt as well. It's like these principles are there. How do you read into these principles? What questions are you asking to Tim Ferriss? Okay, maybe it's not a 4-hour work week, but I've now delegated literally 99% of everything that this company does. And I've improved the efficacy of some of the things by hiring some great people that really know their stuff. And we've pushed the limits and pushed the boundaries and leveled up, right? And grown the value.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Another thing I would say is, man, and this is a real popular concept in the world of coaching, maybe in your world as well, but it's the concept of triggers. How can I trigger myself? How can I create an environment that in some ways activates me so that I'm getting on the right thought process, and from that thought process, doing the right things? And so what's the thing all of us have almost glued to our body? The phone, right? This is our second child, right? Or first child.
How many do I need glued to my body?
Go, right? That's a big question of the day. And so with that, what would it look like in terms of impacting your day, in terms of doing simple, profound, relevant, right? If you created alarms and put them on your phone throughout the day. This is something Brendan Burchard talks about as well, the peak performance coach. is, hey,
Absolutely.
like, if I'm wanting to think this or do this or accomplish this, what kinds of things could I use, say your phone, how could I leverage those things that I'm already doing in order to be able to really impact what I do instead of having to create new things?
And I'm
Let's
on a
leverage what we
Windows
have.
computer, but I'm sure that there's an alarms and clock feature on the Mac. I
Oh
haven't
yeah.
been on a Mac for a little while now,
Mhm.
but on your phones, on your whatever, and that's one of the first things I do in the morning. I look at my schedule for the day and I make sure that I set proper alarms for those events that are kind of out of the ordinary, like meetings with
Mhm.
Javier or something like that at
Right.
3:30, where I'm going to meet with Javier. Well, I need to set today just one alarm for today
Mhm.
for 3:27 or something like that, so I can make sure to take my 3 minutes and go grab some additional water
Mhm.
and maybe some coffee or whatever and prepare myself and then hop into that meeting.
Mhm.
And so those alarms are perfect. We also we had an alarm go off. You were present for it, Javier, right before we went live.
Yes.
We had an alarm. One of the things is I need to send reminders to people to do certain things, and
Mhm.
so one of the triggers for my day is ending the day with some reminders out to my audience and
Love that.
sending a message out. So some of those things are standard, everyday, repeatable habits that I put alarms for, and then sometimes I remind myself by for those odd things that kind of pop out. In fact, I met with someone tonight that I had missed an appointment, and guess why? Because I didn't set my alarms. And so, I mean,
There it is.
yeah, so we missed our, I think it was Wednesday or maybe even Tuesday appointment because I didn't set an alarm, and so we had to meet tonight. But
Yeah.
yeah, so those alarms are great. What other tools can people use?
Yeah. So alarm triggers are good. Excuse me. I'm trying to get my phone plugged in so I don't go blank
Yeah,
here.
and you've got the sunlight coming in as well, so you don't want to go
Right.
blind.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. So with that, triggers are good. Of course, being able to start your day is powerful. And I think the big thing, the most important thing in my mind that really affects how you do what you do is what kind of things are you consuming, right? And so the next big question, the thing I would ask is, what is the quality of the information that you're consuming? And just that one filter, just that one question is hugely powerful in helping people eliminate the issues and the problems that get in the way of their productivity and where they're going. And so, and consuming can mean anything, right? Who are you hanging around? What are you doing? What are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to, right? I mean, for all the value that it does bring, there's a lot of problems sometimes with things like the news, right? And so, if you're a business owner who has all kinds of things in your mind, all kinds of stress and pressures, and you're watching how every day things are burning, how is that affecting what you're doing? How is that? And again, for me, it's about doing and looking at what we're already doing before we start adding new things, before we start creating new systems. Let's go ahead and try to leverage what we have going on.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
that's a hugely powerful thing in my mind.
I'm so glad you mentioned those kind of negative environmental triggers like the news and things like that. And I consider the news, no matter which channel you're watching, to be 99% negative in your daily life. I think it's absolutely imperative that you keep up on current events and what is going on.
Mhm.
However, to start your day with one of the news channels. I'm not even going to say either because all of them are just atrocious now. But to start your day with something like that while you're eating your toast and jam
Right.
or whatever or cereal in the morning,
Mhm.
um, what to start your day with a negative thing
Mhm.
really affects the trajectory of your thoughts throughout the day.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I've limited my news to just on Sundays. I watch the Sunday morning news for the politics and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
And they, although they kind of lean one way or the other, they try to stay as centric as possible.
Right.
So that's at least I'm getting information. What's the quality of the information? Is it biased?
Mhm.
Is it going to make me sad or
Mhm.
happy or whatever? And understanding that I have no obligations today, so this isn't going to piss in my Cheerios for the rest of the day. I'm
Right.
going to be cleaning the house, listening to music on Sunday.
Yeah.
So these are things that, okay, I watched something, I soaked in some information, but now I'm on this task, and keeping that routine is important for me. Um, and keeping that out of my process for the day. I don't, oftentimes people are like, "Hey, did you hear about this?" And I'm like, "No." And now I'm on a wild goose chase to look at Google and find out about
Right.
what happened over there or what's going on over there. And so I try to eliminate bad triggers, and I try to also implement good triggers. Can you talk about like a little bit? I guess we could probably go into depth for hours on that, but what are
Mhm.
some good triggers and some bad triggers that have helped people that you've worked with?
Yeah, and so for me, again, I'm all about alignment, right? What is your purpose? What is going on with that? And so, I like to think of it as unifying your environment, going from a flashlight to a laser, right? So a flashlight's great for lighting up a wall, but it ain't moving through that wall, right? But when you take those rays and you really kind of unify them, you can really get through things. You can really create impact. And
Would you
so,
say that you need to have laser vision?
oh, there it is. Most definitely. That's a winning move right there. So, in terms of good triggers, bad triggers, I think it depends on that, right? And so, if, let's say, for example, and I want to, of course, acknowledge the complexity of these moves too. Relationships are complex, and sometimes it's hard to remove relationships that are harmful to us or toxic to us because of whatever connections they have. But let's just say you're wanting to accomplish something, and there's a person in your life that always brings you down, right? Or you're around them and they're always telling you about why you can't succeed, about why you can't do this or that. And so if we take the concept of triggers, okay, so that would be a trigger you probably want to watch out for. That'd be a trigger that you want to be able to say, is that in alignment? Is that helping me, helping activate me in the right direction towards this purpose that I have? And so that's,
I'm a big advocate for counseling if you
mm,
need a counselor or a therapist. And
yes,
I've had to change therapists because they're like, well, if you're having a hard time running your own business, you know what's really great? Being an employee. And I'm like, no, no, we're not doing that. We are not doing that. Now, there's been times where it's like, oh, should I just be an employee? It's going to be so much easier just to go into work and just do this thing. But sometimes it's like very awesome to, bring in a lot of clients and be able to help them. And I can help all of these people versus the one company that I work for. So
yeah,
that's what motivates me.
mhm,
um but yeah, you have to surround yourself with those people that are not, they're not always going to give you a yes, you should do that. They're
mm,
going to say, hey, if you did it this way, maybe it'd work a little bit better,
mm,
but you're on the right course,
mhm, mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's
And
fair.
so having those cheerleaders around you is very important, but also don't be surrounded like certain celebrities with yes people that just say yes,
Right.
yes, that's the right idea, let's go for that. So and we can all think of someone that might have a surrounding of people that just for some reason or the other said, yeah, that's the direction we're going, and it was the bad idea bus versus the good idea bus. They all knew it was bad.
There you go.
But
There you go. Make sure your cheerleaders are honest.
yeah,
That's good.
and I think selecting a few people to be in your corner and being
Yes.
selective about those people,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean you cut your family out completely.
Right.
But on a day-to-day basis, I don't talk to my father about business.
Mm.
um there's just certain things I don't talk to him about. We're just going to leave that over there, And I don't talk to my mother about business. She's never run a business, So the same thing. If somebody has never bought a house before, they're probably not going to be very educated and helpful when it comes to buying a house. Maybe
Mm.
they'll try and say, "Well, you got to find this kind of deal or that kind of thing." But if they've never gone through the process, they're probably not going to be as knowledgeable as someone that you need mentoring you or or in your corner.
Yeah.
They can say, yeah, go buy a house. That's what I hear is the best thing. But, depending on the market, you may want to wait to buy a house. There's all kinds of factors involved that maybe they don't know about. So I'm a king of analogies today, and examples. But
That's
Javier, let's wrap it up. What are the I'd say, we talked about so much tonight, and I know you've got your general things, but what are your top 3 takeaways from tonight, that somebody can walk away with? Like, I can go start this tomorrow.
Yep.
What are your top 3?
Yeah, well, so you know me, I'm all about the questions. So I would give 3 questions, right? What's one thing you can do today that will have the most impact in your life, and how can you improve that in the simplest way possible, right? The second thing is kind of a reflection question. If I do things today and keep them that way, where will I end up in 10 years or 5 years? What does that look like? And the third one is a little bit dark for some people, but I think it really brings a lot of perspective. And that's the question of, if today were my last day on earth, how would I live it?
Yeah, that's really dark, man. Why would you say that?
I know, right?
No, I'm just kidding.
No,
No,
right.
but yeah, that's absolutely that's imperative to kind of think that way. To say, if I only was able to impact one more person on this earth,
Yes.
or if I was only if my voice stopped working or whatever, how would I impact someone? If I wasn't here tomorrow, what would my impact be, and how would I improve that impact?
That's good.
Or look at that. Yeah, so those are fantastic. I love it. If one thing I would do today, and that's impactful, that's truly impactful, how could I improve that one thing, right? And then if I do things the same today as tomorrow, for 5 years, what does that look like? Where am I? What is am I in the same house? Am I in a bigger house, a smaller house? Is my family happy with me? There's lots of things that you can kind of extrapolate from a 5-year look, and that brings us kind of to the atomic habits. 1% improvement
Yes.
is just so much better over time.
Mhm.
And then your last one was the last day question. What would it look like if this was my last day, and how would I impact others?
Exactly.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, and like always, before we start doing anything, an action is hugely important. Execution is necessary to grow and to move. But let's first look at how we're thinking, and the kind of questions we're asking ourselves, and the kind of assumptions we're making, because that's what needs to get fixed first before anything out here gets changed properly. So that's where I always go with my clients and myself.
Absolutely. Laser instead of a flashlight, laser eyes.
Boom.
So Javier, final thing before we wrap. You're a guest on the show, so tell people how they can find you. I know that you're in the Level Up group, so go find Javier in the Level Up group and connect.
Yeah.
But how else can they find you? Where's your website? What's your Facebook stuff? Tell the people where we can find you.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, Corey, once again, it's been an incredible pleasure, man. So thank you so much for having me. And I'm glad to be a part of the vision and where you're going with this. So I have a website. The name of the company is Brightview Growth Coaching, just how it sounds, BRIGHTVIEW Growth Coaching. All one word, all lowercase. And it's www.brightviewcoaching.com.
Oh, Brightview Coaching. Okay.
Right.
Let me change that real quick. Brightview Coaching. Let's take the growth out, so we've got the right link on here. I should have prepared this beforehand, but
oh, you're good. That's perfect.
Sometimes, yeah.
You're good. And then the Facebook is Brightview Growth Coaching, or you can look at Brightview Coaching. Both will take you there. And from this point on, I'm also trying to increase my presence on Instagram and looking at some other options there. So nothing there yet, but Facebook and the website are the two biggest options. And if you're interested in booking a coaching session, really taking advantage of that, I have an option for a free coaching session on my website. I'm not going to try to sell you anything or anything like that, just maybe to help give you some tips and some things to move forward and to help you see if I'm someone that can bring value to your situation, if you want to pursue an actual formal coaching agreement. So just go
That
on
sounds
there.
awesome. Free value. That's what we're all about here. So yeah, hit Javier up on brightviewcoaching.com or on Facebook, Brightview Growth Coaching, and you'll find him there. And he's got some free value. You talk about your business and get that done. We are also doing the free value thing. So make sure you, if you haven't yet, reach out to myself or Robert. Robert's not here tonight, but reach out to one of us and we'll get you in with a strategy session for us as well. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for watching. I think we've had a couple of people that stuck with us the entire time tonight. So we will talk to you next week. Where's my book? Next week we will be talking about some different topics, I believe. Oh, here's my list. Okay. Next week we are talking about funding versus bootstrapping. So week 2 is all about finances and sales, I believe, and marketing, I think. So funding versus bootstrapping, 3 ways to get a quick $10,000. And we've got pricing, value, and some case studies, I think, for you next week. So tune in. We're going to try to keep this going in the evening times. Our Wednesday night mastermind group is going to be taking over the 6 o'clock spot Central Time. So we may not be live during that time. We may go live earlier. We may not go live at all. We may just drop you some content in the guides. So take a look at the guides, and we will see you soon. Thanks, Javier, for being here, and thank you guys. Like, share, and follow.
Thanks, Corey.